Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a little while since I was in recovery from surgery, but everything is going really well now, and I'm glad to be back at it. I kind of missed being able to work. I discovered over the last 2 weeks that I am quite the workaholic, it seems. Not being able to work was just, it was hard, and trying to recover and giving your time that grace. Giving yourself the time and grace it can be difficult. So it's something I've definitely noticed. Give me a hello as you come in. I love the interaction, and let me know if you can hear me okay. I am using a different form of sound today, so hopefully it works better. I'm trying to improve on the sound, so let's hope it works. So let me know you're here. My comments don't always work, so hopefully they'll be working today. Let me see if I can mess with the settings a little bit. It'll let me write comments, but I'm not sure if it'll let me actually put the comments in there. So hello and good morning. In case this is your first time, my name is Evelyn Knight. I am the founder and CEO of Childcare Business Professionals, which is a company that helps childcare owners and directors find success while maintaining high quality research-based standards. Sorry about that. Where I just really help you guys to learn how to run a successful center. I know as an owner myself, it took me years to figure it out, and a lot of trial and error and a lot of money lost. But when you really learn how to run the business and the childcare center and make them just a cohesive, healthy business, it relieves so much stress, and it is possible. I know I was an owner once who did not think it was possible to turn a healthy profit and maintain high quality. I didn't think it was possible to fill my center. I didn't think I would ever have a wait list. And as I just really learned how to be a better business person and really focus on those high quality standards, it all fell into place. So that's what I hope owners do now. And I also help owners just really balance their lives and find that time management. Time management is one of the biggest problems I see for owners and directors. So I really help with systemizing processes, getting things streamlined, helping your organization become more professional so that you can find that success. I'm also the host of the Business Coach podcast, the Childcare Business Coach podcast, and I am a childcare center owner as well. Just like you guys, I will be at my center later today dealing with all the fun COVID stuff we have to deal with now. I am in Nevada, and Nevada is going into a new kind of lockdown. So we're not in a full lockdown, but we are, so we get to go figure that out today and see how we're going to deal with the next few weeks and how we're going to close out the year dealing with the new COVID standards that were put on us today. So I know what it's like, you guys. I'm out there too in the trenches, and I know what it feels like. I was a director for years and an owner, and now recently I've stepped back to just being an owner and running my other business too. So today, we are going to talk, of course, about Thanksgiving, right? We're in Thanksgiving week, and so we can't ignore that, and thank God for Thanksgiving week, because we're all going to have a little bit of time, and our centers will be closed for a little bit, and it'll be nice to get some time to just decompress and rest. But what I have to wonder is how many of you are actually going to take that time to decompress and rest over this weekend. This weekend can be really busy. It can cause a frenzy between, most of us coordinate our Thanksgiving dinners, and it can just be so stressful. So I would really encourage you, it's a 4-day weekend hopefully for you, and just to find some time for yourself, because if we're not taking care of our mental health, everything around us is going to suffer, right? I mean, we've all heard that old adage about if you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks fall, are you going to put the oxygen mask on your child's face first or your own? Most of us as mothers are going to say, of course I'm going to put on my child first. But then you have to ask yourself, if you're suffocating and you're passed out because you have a lack of oxygen, how are you going to care for your child, right? And that is why focusing on our mindset is so important, and focusing on our mental health, which is why I do these Mindset Mondays for you. I started doing these videos back in, I think it was late February, early March, I don't remember the exact date, when COVID really hit. And I saw just such a need to encourage you guys out there and to encourage our industry not to give up. I just knew the writing on the wall. It was not good. I mean, our industry, most owners are literally living week to week. You have enough money to make it a week at a time. And I, once upon a time, was that owner. I know what it feels like. And if you are that owner, I can help you break that cycle. As I've gained knowledge in learning how to be a business person and really sought over the years to learn how to run a business, I realize that doesn't have to be that way in this industry. It doesn't. I know we have this fallacy going around, and so many owners think that's just the way childcare is, but it's not. It doesn't have to be. The reason it's that way is because we don't know business. We don't know business finance. I don't care how good you are with your money at home. Your money at home is nothing like business money. Nothing like it. Knowing how to run your books and just organizing a center, period. There's so much that goes into it. So that is something, reach out to me, message me. I can definitely, that is what I do. I help you guys learn how to manage a successful center, and my main goal is to really help everybody out there just avoid the pain that I've been through. I know what it's like, you guys. Like, I've said it before on this. I have faced just things in my center that I didn't think I was ever going to get past, and I did. There were times where I've told you guys that my family gave up on me in my center, and they encouraged me just to walk away, close it down. They told me there's no way you're going to make it out of this. There's no way you're going to be successful in the childcare center. And, you know, between my husband and even, you know, my mom and different people were just like, it is time. Close it. You're not going to make it. And I couldn't give up. I looked at my staff and I looked at those families that needed me, and I knew I couldn't give up. So I went on a journey and sought out how to become a successful business owner. And I had to step outside of the childcare industry and learn business, right? And at the time I couldn't afford to get an MBA. So I kind of went around and just did all the studying and learning I needed to figure it out. And, you know, so kind of, I always joke like, oh, I ended up getting an equivalent of an MBA with just researching and reading textbooks and doing it all on my own. And it really was a pivotal piece for me to become a successful childcare owner. I also hired a business coach myself, and she made all the difference in the world. One of the things that I've done is I've just taken what I've learned through all of my studying and through what I learned through my business coach, and I made it childcare specific so that I can bring it to you guys and help you avoid that pain, the pain that I went through. I know how painful it is, you guys, and I know how lonely it is. It feels like you're an island, and I don't know how often I would just feel so alone in this. And, you know, just that financial struggle and all of the people that were relying on me. And just the, you know, at one point I just looked at my center and just things weren't going well, and it was so incredibly lonely. Such a lonely feeling. Nobody understands what it's like to run a childcare center like we do, right? Even if you're a director and you know that your center's struggling, it's just a lonely, hard place to be. And nobody really, even our families don't always understand it. Sorry guys, I forgot to set my phone to, you know, make all my calls and texts go away. So I'm sorry about that. I've been out of it for 2 weeks. So this is recovery from surgery, right? So I do understand. And so that's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about today, because it's getting hard again. And COVID is hitting so many of our states, and it's just getting really hard. The messages I've been getting, there's a lot of desperation that I'm hearing through our industry as the collective whole. So that's really what I wanted to touch on today. Is this week of Thanksgiving is we're all under so much stress and pressure right now, and it feels so stressful right now, and we're worried, and we've got there's just this collective heaviness. So that's really what I wanted to focus on, is just that feeling of just how hard it gets as an owner. I know the feeling. I know, I've been there. And I just want you guys to really just think about it. So often we get so caught up in our stress and the pressure that we're under that we don't focus on our mental health, that we don't even realize that it's there. I mean, you know you're stressed, right? You're going to say like, oh, I'm so stressed out. But what I would really recommend is take a moment with your feelings. Take a moment and just process. And I know many of you are thinking, I don't have a moment, but I'm telling you, you guys do. We all do. You know, you're on Facebook right now. That's a moment, right? If you, one of the first things I do when I get a new client is I make you go through my time management training, because what it really comes down to is most of us in this industry, we have awful time management, and we do have more time. And I can tell you guys, I run a couple businesses. I care for a husband who's on dialysis. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I, run a household. If I can find time to still be a center owner, still do everything that I do, I can guarantee you can. It's all about learning how to manage your time and how to recognize those things that are unnecessary that you can get rid of in your life, right? So, and when you really want, look at what you really want, okay? We all want to be successful, right? We all want to have systems that flow. We want that peace, really, right? We want calm. So if you think about what you really, really want, you need to step back and ask yourself, what am I willing to do to get where I want, right? And sometimes what you really need to do to get there is to pull back. And you need to give yourself time. So we're about to face a 4-day weekend, and I know this 4-day weekend gets to be extremely hectic, and there is time that we really don't have time to just breathe, right, during this weekend. But what I'm going to really encourage you to do is set out some time for yourself, intentional time. And really just think, I want you to be with your emotions, and I want you to just process, how do you feel? And let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel the overwhelm. Let yourself feel the fear of what we're about to face, right? I know throughout the country, so many states are shutting down again, and it is terrifying as an owner. I was going through my numbers last night, thinking like, okay, what do I need to cut? What do I need to do? If I need to cut my capacity by 50% again, this is where I'm going to be financially. Where do I need to be? And even though I've saved and I'm prepared for this and I'm ready, it sucks, you guys. No matter what, right? It sucks. Yeah, am I prepared? Yeah. Can I sustain the hit? Yeah. Do I want to? Absolutely not. I worked hard to get my savings where it is. I don't want to have to touch it. So as I'm planning and preparing to take this hit, and what do I need to do so that I don't have to go to that savings, that anxiety starts to hit me, right? The fear, the stress, the anger even. I mean, it's even just makes me mad that I have to face this and that I've worked so hard to save up. And yes, my center can survive. If a full shutdown happens, I've saved, I'm ready, but I don't want to, right? And it's really difficult to really just focus on that. And it's just kind of, it isn't easy. So one of the things I do is I just allow those thoughts and I allow those feelings and I process them, right? But I make myself be aware what is going through my head right now. Most of us, these thoughts just flow and we just let them run out of control. We are not aware of the thoughts. We don't take hold of the thoughts. So I force myself to really be aware of what is going through my mind, right? I force myself to focus on these fears and I allow them. And then after a while, and it depends on how big it is, some days I might give myself an entire day to process these thoughts. And I might give myself an entire, just to really let this flow. I mean, there's been times, and I'll tell you, when my oldest son went to college, it was probably the most traumatic thing I've ever been through. I give myself 3 days to just be in that sadness and just to feel it and process. My son is gone. He's off to college 9 hours away, right? So it really depends on how big what you're facing is. But last night for me, when I was looking at this possibility of, which I'm pretty sure once licensing, we're going to have to cut by 50%, I just allowed it, but I wouldn't allow it for more than 1 hour. I gave myself an hour to just kind of feel sorry for myself. Oh, I got to cut. I saved so much money, and I let the fear flow through me for an hour. I let the feelings of anxiety flow through me for an hour. And then after that hour, I just said, okay, now it's time to stop. Now it's time to get over it and go into action. Part of the issue is if you stay in that state and you allow that state to really stick in your mind of that, and you allow that fear and anxiety to stay, you're not going to take action, right? So instead of taking action, we worry and we worry and we worry. And a lot of the things that we worry about comes to fruition because we didn't create a plan and we didn't take action. We freeze. So that's why I allow those feelings. We can't ignore them. They're there. You don't want to suppress them. So you want to just feel them and let them in. But then there comes a time where you have to say, okay, enough is enough. Now let's create a plan. Now let's move forward. And that's exactly what I do, right? And so like today, my focus is going to be the plan. I have to create a plan. I'm going through my books. I'm going to go through everything I need to do. I'm going to do a total cost analysis, and I'm going to figure out what I need to do, right? And I'm going to come up with a plan. And part of my plan will probably be dipping into my savings. Part of my plan will be, and when I would say make a plan, I am going to plan for the worst case scenario. So I will plan for full shutdown. If my state goes into full shutdown, just like we did in March, I'm going to duplicate, okay, this is what my books looked like in March. If I have to go through another March and April of, going from 115 children a day to 30 children a day, what do I need to do? And once I have that plan in place, I need to accept it and just go with it. It needs to become my reality. And that plan gives me the confidence to move forward. Am I going to still have some fear? Of course I will. I'm human. Is it going to still cause me a bit of anxiety? Yes, it will. But it's not going to overwhelm me. And it's not going to take over me. And I am not going to allow it to control my life. And you guys, I really want to focus on that. I am not going to allow it. So if your anxiety is just getting that to that point where it's out of control, and you guys, I've got my degree of neurological psychology, so I know that some of it is absolutely medical, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of it isn't. And I want to tell you right now that you have got to make a decision. Are you going to take command of the situation? We cannot control it, but we can take command. Or are you going to let it take control of you, right? You've got to ask yourself right now, am I going to allow myself to drown in anxiety, or am I going to make the conscious decision to deal with it, to come up with a plan and to take that control back, right? We can't control COVID. We can't control our governors putting us into shutdown, right? But we can command and we can make a plan and do what we can. So that's what I would really encourage you to do. Don't freeze. The worst thing you can do is freeze. In 2012, I went through some really tough times it actually all started in 2010, and it just accumulated. And instead of taking action, I froze. And my freezing and retreating really, it almost cost my family everything. It was the worst thing I could do. And a lot of times, I think that's our natural instinct, is we just want to freeze, right? Things just feel so overwhelming. And it just looks so huge, and we just don't know what to do. I know my center's overhead is close to $60,000 a month. So the possibility of shutting down and not, you just think like, oh my gosh, $60,000 a month, that's so much money, and blah, 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 blah. And those thoughts just go to your head. And something like that can feel so overwhelming that you just want to freeze and take no action. But the worst thing you can do right now is to freeze. It is the worst thing. That is what will cause you to fail, right? So that's where I say, give yourself grace, give yourself that time, cut out that time this weekend, because things are getting rough for us again, right? Cut yourself some time, give yourself that hour if you need it. Feel those feelings, allow the anxiety, allow the fear, allow the anger that this is happening again to fill you, but then and think about it, process it, right? Process, like actually tell yourself, the best thing you could do is take some paper out and write it out. This is my fear. This is my anger. Acknowledge it. And then come up with a plan and just say, okay, now I need to move forward. Are these feelings there? Yes. Am I going to suppress it? You can't really suppress them because they will come out. But, you're going to tell yourself, okay, now I'm going to come up with a plan and we are moving forward. I am not going to let this fear control me. I am not going to let this anxiety control me. I am not going to let this anger control me. And I'm also not going to let these feelings get out of control. Okay? Take command of the situation. Come up with a plan. Write down each one of those fears that you have. Write down why you're angry. And then come up with a plan to address each one of those scenarios. I guarantee you, you will feel so much better. Sometimes we don't even need to use our plans, right? I'm going to come up with a plan for a worst case scenario. I'm going to probably have a 3-plan system where if this is what happens, we're at 50%, this is what I'm going to do. If the, and just basically scale it. And I'm not going to use probably 2 out of those 3 plans, but at least I have them. And I know if I need it, it's there. If I need the full shutdown scenario, it's there. I know what I'm going to do, so I can take action. And that is going to relieve so much of my own anxiety. That alone is going to help me get through this and help me just really take command of the situation and still be able to sleep at night, right? Will there still be some fear there? Of course there will. I'm human. But it's not going to overwhelm me. Having a plan will help so much in not allowing these things to overwhelm you. So just really think about that. And just one other thing I want to talk about is when you're making these decisions and you're coming up with a plan, it can be really, really hard to make these decisions because your mind just starts to wonder like, oh, but what if I do this and it's the wrong decision? What if I do this and it's the wrong decision? So whenever I'm making a decision, I really focus on giving myself grace in the decision. And what I remind myself, and one of the things that I kind of make, like, I like to write out my plans. And one of the things I will write out is I'll tell myself, I cannot beat myself up in the future for making this decision. And part of the reason it is so hard for us to make a final decision is because we really beat ourselves up. We just, once we've made this decision, we live in this, I should have, if only I had, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys can, every single one of you watching this video can think of a decision you made 5 or 10 years ago that you're still thinking, man, if only I had, or I should have done it this way, right? So one of the things that most people don't understand about the decision-making process is when you're actually in the stage of making the decision, you're trying to think into the future, and you're trying to look into the future in order to figure out what is best to do in the now, right? So we come up with plans, we make a decision hoping that it's the best decision for the future. Well, our plans come into play, and then, like today, we all know the result of the decisions we made when COVID first happened in March. Today we know where we are. We know what decisions we made, and we know how they affected us, right? But think back to March when we had to start making those decisions. Are we going to keep our centers open? Are we going to close? So some of you are probably already beating yourself up over the decision you made back in March. And some of you are probably already living in, oh, I did it wrong back then. So one of the things I really want you to think about is today, you know how the story played out. You have all the facts. You know exactly what happened. Back in March, when you were faced with that decision, you did not. You did not have the facts. You did not know how it was going to play out. You did the best you could with the information you had. You had limited information. You took that limited information and you made the best decision you possibly could with the limited information. The you of today has all the information. So it's so easy for you to judge yourself. It is so easy for you to look back and say, man, why didn't I do this? I was stupid. I hear it all the time. I was so stupid. I should have done this, this, and this because this is how it played out, right? But remember, the you of today knows how it was going to play out. You have all the facts. The you in March did not have all the facts. You did not know how it was going to play out, right? So you did the best you could. So when you're facing these decisions again, I want you to tell yourself, I am not going to beat myself up. I do not have all the facts right now. And I want you to tell your future self to give yourself grace. right? One of the things I will do when I'm facing something huge, I will write myself a letter. Like when we were facing those COVID issues, I wrote myself a letter to be opened a year. So in March, I wrote myself a letter to read in March. And that's one of the things I do. I thank myself. Thank you for making these decisions, regardless of how they panned out. Thank you for taking the courage to make the decision and act on it. Thank you. And I thank myself for being the person that I know I'm going to need to be. So I'll thank myself for being courageous. I'll thank myself for following through. I'll thank myself for being consistent. And I'll thank myself for facing hard things, right? For facing it and for not giving up and for fighting through. And I just kind of really focus on projecting into my future self, because I know how much I can beat myself up for the past. I can really beat myself up for past decisions. So I really focus on just thanking myself for being the person I know I need to be, and for reminding myself that I can't beat myself up, right? So in March, when I read this letter a year later, now, and even today, I could read that letter today and see where I made mistakes, right? But then it reminds me of who I was then, and it reminds me of the limited information I had when I made those decisions. It reminds me that the person I am today and my mind today, it has all the facts, right? So of course I can make a great decision. If I could go back and talk to myself in March, and I could say, hey, this is exactly how it's going to pan out. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to face. This is exactly how it's going to pan out, right? If I could go back and tell myself all of that, I could make the perfect decision, right? But I can't. So in March, I made the best decision I could with the information I had in March. Today, I can judge myself. I can beat myself up, because the me of today has all the facts and I know how it played out. So as we face this again, just keep that in mind, you guys. Don't be so afraid of the decision-making process. And that's what's actually happening. We really fear the decision-making process because we're so afraid to mess up. But if you do, who's going to judge you? It's going to be you. You're going to be your worst judge, right? Yes, a lot of other people are going to say things, but really, who cares? It's us. We are our worst judges. So when you stop and tell yourself, I'm going to give myself grace, I'm going to make the best decision I have, and I am not going to beat myself up about it. It is so much easier to go through the decision-making process, and you won't linger over that, ooh, should I do this and that, and it won't take you days to make a final decision when you release the outcome, right? And just remind yourself that the me of today does not have all the facts. The me in the future will. Therefore, I will not allow the me in the future, my future self, I will not allow my future self to judge me today, because future me has all the facts. Me today does not. So one last thing I really want to talk about, just because it is Thanksgiving. Right now, it is so hard for us to be thankful, right? And it's so easy for us to get caught up in what we're going through. One of the things I would really like to suggest is listen to my podcast episode with Carmen Munoz from Panama. If you're in the United States or Canada, it'll make you appreciate what we're going through so much more. So much more. I mean, we hyper-focus so much on what we're going through that we don't see how good we have it here. Okay, so listen to my podcast episode where we talk a lot about what Panama is going through, what EC is going through, what Carmen has to go through right now. It will really help you to be thankful for what you have today. So I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about thankfulness. And one of the things she said that really struck me when I was asking, like, you know, when things got really bad in her life, really bad, how did she remain thankful or just positive? Because it just surprised me, like, how positive this person is. And one of the things she said to me is that there's always something to be thankful for. Always. We just get so hyper focused on the negative, and we get so hyper focused on what isn't happening for us that we don't see the blessings that are all around us every day. And one of the things she said is there was moments in her childhood where and it was later, like, 17, 18, where she realized that she was thankful just for waking up in the morning. And she would have to tell herself, you know what, I woke up this morning. A lot of people didn't. I, have a roof over my head. I may not have heat, but I have a roof. A lot of people don't. So many things that we just take for granted because we're so focused on that everything else. So something I want you guys to focus on this morning. When you wake up in the morning and you wake up in a bed, be thankful for waking up in a bed, because a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't, right? You have a blanket over you, be thankful for that. You have running water, be thankful for that. 2/3 of the world do not wake up to that, right? When you really start noticing that there's so much to be thankful for, especially for us in westernized culture, right? We just don't get it. We just don't get how blessed we are. And so really focus on that. And as things are really hard, focusing on there's still so much good and beauty around us to be thankful for. There's still so many wonderful things. It doesn't feel like that, but there's still so many wonderful things happening to us. If you're a mom, you have your children. That's a wonderful thing, right? Be thankful for the fact that they're there. The noise and the things that could drive us crazy, at least they're there. At my center, I have 3 moms who've lost their babies. It makes me just so thankful that I have my babies. So just focus on that, because those things that we take for granted every day. Do you get to take a shower this morning? Be thankful for that. 2/3 of the world don't get that. 2/3 of human population do not get hot showers. So just really focus on how much we really have. No matter how hard it is, our lives are so absolutely abundant. It's just wonderful. So as we're going into another really stressful time, I just really want you guys to focus on that. Just focus on giving yourself grace. Focus on intentionally being in your own mind. And focus on being thankful for the little things that we have. Because no matter what, our lives are still wonderful. They're still beautiful. No matter how hard things look, how hard things seem, we still have so much. Just the fact that you're on the internet watching Facebook, you've got 2/3 more than the rest of the world. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope this is helpful and helps some of you guys get through, this new hurdle that we're facing. Again, I guess it's not so new, but another thing that 2020 and COVID is throwing at us. And I really hope that this Thanksgiving, you guys have a wonderful time and you can just remain thankful about the blessings we do have. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.